Welcome back. Today we are going to continue our journey on using Firefly APIs for automation. In the last video, we show you how we could use the Firefly text to image to generate images based on text prompt, right? And today we are going to try out a different API. This time is this Fill API, this or GenFill API, I like to call it. What it does is that it lets us combine the images that is going to be generated as background with the product photo that I've got here. So imagine that I've got a product shot, and this product shot has been created also with a mask, and I want to superimpose this product on various backgrounds that's based on text prompts that is stored in an Excel table, right? And this is what we are going to do today, right? So the way it works is no different to last time, really, and it starts with getting Firefly web token access. So it starts with exchanging the Firefly client ID and client secret with the authorization server, and you get the web access token. And then this access token is going to send along together with the two images there, the image as well as the mask image, and with the text prompt that is stored in the Excel table. So all these will be sent to the Firefly services in the backend, and Firefly will literally create isolate the image using the mask and superimpose with the various various backgrounds that are based on the text prompts in the Excel table. These will be generated one by one and stored back in OneDrive for online storage. Yeah. So very similar to like last time, except that we just just add a few extra bits and pieces, like the how do we handle the images for in this time, right? So let's just see how to get this work. So let's go to Power Automate. So here is the Power Automate for the last flow that we did, right? So if you recall, this is how we exchange the ID and secret and get the token and initialize or store the token as a variable. Then we use this action called list rows presented in the table. And what it does is that it points to the Excel online. And in our Excel online is really just one table with one column, right? So if you recall, the table is like this. So it's single column table with the various text prompt in every single row, right? So obviously, if you are using your own Excel table, then the location will be different, the folder structure will be different, the file name will be different, but otherwise it works exactly the same, right? Once we've got the table data, last time what we did was that we then call the Firefly text to image APIs, right? And we pass along the text prompt based on the data from the column one, and then it will generate the images, and these images are stored in the URL, pre-signed URL. And what we did next is then we grab the URL and use this upload file from URL that is an action in OneDrive, and we make it as the source, and we tell that I'm going to put these images one by one into the OneDrive folder within the subfolder called demo. Right. So that's what we did last time, right? And indeed, today's the workflow is quite similar. So instead of me creating everything from scratch, I'm just going to reuse, reuse this workflow and just delete things that we are not using, add things that we are using today, right? So what we are using will be this bit, right? So all those using the Firefly text to image API that we don't need. So I'm going to select this entire loop and hit the delete key. We don't want that, right? We will leave these on because these are kind of like the table stake. We must have these to start with, accessing the token, right? We'll also keep the Excel table data there because we still use the text prompt, right? But what we need is to add a few things. First of all, we need to add the input because we need to let the user select the image and the mask as well. So I'm going to the menu trigger. Last time it was just a single click and then it just start the workflow. But this time, before it start the workflow, we want to ask for user to select the image and the mask. So I'm going to go to add input and go to add a file input. Right. And let me call the first input image, and this is where someone to select an image. And then I also want to add another input. I call this mask and ask someone to select the mask, right? Now you might ask, why are we having to manually create and select a mask? Can't we just have the backend services generate the mask automatically based on the image that we put in? Yes, we can, but it would require one more API call, which is the Photoshop API, right? So Photoshop, there's one API that is create mask API, right? But I don't want to confuse or complicate today's tutorials there. Today's tutorial, we are just going to focus on Firefly APIs there. For Photoshop APIs, maybe we'll have another video later on, and we could then talk a lot more about what is Photoshop APIs and how do we get it to work, right? But today we'll keep it simple. We'll let the user manually select the image, manually select the mask, right? And that's the first start, right? But that's not enough. We need to be able to upload the image to the Firefly services as well. You don't just select an image and assume that is there, right? You need to upload it to the Firefly service, right? And to do this, we need to call an API from Firefly. So under the Firefly developer guide, the API reference. I think last time what we did was we used this generate images. So that was the one that we used last time, right? This time we first start with this upload. This upload API allowed us to upload the file to the server, right? And the just like last time, we need to find out the URL. So if I click this drop down, it shows you the endpoint of the URL that we need. So let me just copy it. We need to make the call to this URL, right? And to call it, just like last time, we need the API key. We need to get the token. We need to use the token, and then we need to send the body. But this time the body is going to be a JPEG, and that needs to be a string. So you don't just upload the image, so to speak. You need to represent the image as a binary string. So how do we do it? We'll show it to you in just a second, right? But this is the kind of like the basics of how it works, right? So let's go back to the Power Automate flow. So let's under this, right? Indeed, you could add it from here if you want to, but I'm just going to add a new action here. This action is going to be an HTTP call. So HTTP. Let's give a name, right? So call it image upload. I think by now, we've done so many HTTP call, so you might be kind of like get familiar the process already, right? But it will be like this, right? So we start with the URL or URI that I copied. We need to post, and the header we need to put in the XAPI key. And the XAPI key is the client ID, and authorization needs to be bearer space token, right? And then the content type needs to be image JPEG. Right. So this is the what we need to put onto the header. Right. Let's go back to the. Right. So we've got the XAPI key. We've got the authorization. The body is JPEG. It doesn't have to be JPEG. It could be PNG or WebP as well. So we've got that. Now the body is what we need to send. We need to send it as a text string, right? So so we are going to have to somehow convert this body of the image, the JPEG file, into a binary string. I'll show you how to do it, right? Now, let's go to the Power Automate, right? So this is where we need to work out how to do it, right? We need to convert an image that we selected into a binary string. To do this, right, so we need to call this function. So previously we mainly use this add dynamic data, but we are going to click the fx because there is one conversion function that we could use. Under the category conversion function, there are many conversion functions, 29 in total under Power Automate, right? Let's just go and expand so I could see every conversions available, right? One of the conversion function that we could use is this, base 64 to binary. Base 64 is a way that these images are described, right? And so we can use this base 64 to binary function to convert that image into binary value. So within the parentheses, so the cursor is in the middle. This is where we insert our image. So I'm going to select the dynamic content instead of function dynamic content under the manually trigger flow. So there are we can't see the image here, but it's simply because there are just too many parameters, right? Simply click show more, and it will show me all the image, all the parameters under the menu trigger. And here we've got image is what the image that we've selected. Image name will be whatever the name of the image, but we want more than that. We want the actual content bytes, the bytes that describe the image there, right? And this is the one that we need. We need to add this as a parameter for the base 64 to binary for conversion, right? So select this. So that is what that is. Let's just click add. So add it here. Now I'm going to save and give a second. Then the green bar says your flow is ready to go, and then we could do the test. So let's just manually trigger it and continue. Now, unlike last time, when we click continue, last time we just run it. This time you pause because it will ask us to select the image and mask as file. Right? So image, I've got this product shot, and we are going to manually upload the mask as well. Click run. Done. So that's it, right? So let's just see how it works. So you see the green tick. Oh, all green tick. That's wonderful, right? So if I click the green tick, it tells me that the output is 200, so that is good, right? So the status is good, right? And that the output is an image with an ID. So that is what we need, right? So because this upload API calls will upload the image as binary data to the backend server. The backend server will in turn return with an image ID. This is the image ID that we'll reference later when we do the GenFill API, right? So for now, I'm going to copy this JSON file. The reason why I copy, if you recall last time, right? So I always copy this output because it's no good to just give me this as a text string. I need to be able later on programmatically reference this ID. So I'm going to pass this JSON file. To pass the JSON file, we need a schema. And to create the schema, the easiest is to just copy one of the output, and then we could use the Power Automate can use this output to generate the schema for us, right? So I've copied. Now let's go back to the edit mode, and now add a pass action. And I'm going to pass the JSON. Let's just give a name, right? So let's just say pass image JSON. And the content comes from the HTTP image upload the body. So we grab it from the body, right? And the output body, and then the schema, we don't manually create it. Instead, we just go to ask Power Automate to generate a schema using a sample load, right? So this is just a sample file. It doesn't matter the exact ID, right? We just need the structure. So okay. And so it generates the schema and with the ID that we could reference later on as well, right? Now, we've done the upload of the image. We grab the image ID. What we need to do is repeat the same process for the mask, right? So instead of me doing it again, I'm just going to simply copy and paste, copy this, and then Control C, and then go to the plus and paste an action. And I'm just going to rename it as mask upload. Everything remains the same, except of course I need to change the content, right? It's not from the image, instead is from the mask, right? So again, I use the same function base 64 to binary, but the dynamic content, I delete the image one, go to dynamic content, and go and select. Previously, it was a image content bytes. Now I select the mask content bytes. Right, so click update, and then we're just going to copy the pass function as well, or action, and paste it again. Let me call this a paste pass mask JSON, and the body no is going to be not from the image upload, is from the mask upload, right? So go to the mask upload. So that is it. Again, save it. I like to just do a quick test, right? So I just it just for me that I tends to prefer test as often as possible. So sometimes despite their best effort, we make mistake here and there. Maybe select the wrong item. Sometimes simple typo errors. Everything could get in the way of running the flow. So I'm going to click done and let it run, right? So we want to see tag, right? We want to see all the green tag. Oh yeah, we've got all the green tag. So that's good. That means that if I take a look at the mask, the past mask, right? So you see that there's this it return an ID of the mask. So the image it should return the image ID. So we've got the image ID, we got the mask ID. With the two IDs now, it's just a matter of using that as an input element for the gen field. So we've got both the image ID and the mask ID created in this process. That's good. We could continue to the next step. So what we are going to do next is that we are going to call the gen API, gen field API. Right? So again, here I'm going to refer to the documentation. So at the Firefly Developers Guide, there's this field image API, and this is how we could create the images based on the not just the text prompt, but also the images that has been uploaded. Right. So the first thing is that we need to find out the URL or URI that we need to send it to, right? And as you can see, we are using this version 1, right? So as explained before, when you watch this video, it may well be when we have the new object composite, which is based on the V3 model, which is possibly the one that I would use. But for now, I'm just going to use this V1 model image field. So I'm going to copy it. Same sort of deals. You need the XAPI key and the access token like before. And this time, the body that is going to be sent is a application JSON. Right. So let's go back to the flow and just do pretty much what we have been doing so far. Right. Make a call for the HTTP and paste the URL and get post X API key, the client ID as the value, and authorization is the bearer space the token. Now content type is a JSON file. Right, so we are going to pass the body as JSON, right? And the body, let's go back to the documentation, right? So the body is this. So it accepts an object properties of prompt, which is a text prompt, and is the integer. So the 1 to 4, literally what it means is that for every single text prompt, you can have Firefly generate from 1 up to 4 images or variation of the images there, right? So the default, if you don't specify it, every single text prompt is going to generate one image, right? And or you could specify more than 1, up to 4. And then the seeds are some about all those how the images are being generated based how similar is one image to the others. So you could use these sort of numbers to affect how the variations of the images there, right? So now notice that none of these are mandatory, so they are optional. What is mandatory? Well, even text prompts could be optional as well. If you don't put in any text prompt, you just generate something, I don't know, based on pretty much what is the similar to the image, I would imagine. If not provided, the mask array will be rendered with content matching the existing style of the source image, right? So that's what that is, right? But we have some text prompt in the Excel document there. Size is what is required. We need to specify what that is. And then of course the image is the ID. So the image ID as well as the mask ID is what we need. Right? Now, the easiest way to work out the exact JSON file is just to copy a sample here. So there's this sample JSON that we could use. I'm just going to copy it and then go to the Power Automate and just paste. Just like that, right? Now, just to keep it simple, the number of C's and N, I'm just going to delete it because these are not mandatory anyway, right? So I'm just going to remove that, right? Now, size 10K, so 1K by 1K. In terms of prompt, right? So here it is. We don't want the hard code prompt. Instead, I want to grab the prompt from the Excel table. Remember that we've got this action list rows presented in the table. So I'm going to go and click the Thunderbolt here, get the dynamic content. This dynamic content is from this action list rows presented in the table. We want everything in column 1. Column 1. Now, what you might notice is that as soon as we specify column 1, it creates a loop. The reason why it's a loop is that it will go through every single row, and this is how it will generate one image after another image, because it's going to loop through the entire column 1. Right now, in terms of the ID, we got it from our previous step, the parse image JSON, right? So I'm going to go to the parse image JSON, find the ID. Now, you notice that it then create yet another loop, right? The reason why it create another loop is that even though when we upload one image, it return the image ID. The image ID is actually inside an array object. I suppose that upload image I haven't tested, right? Maybe it's possible to upload multiple images in one go. I don't know. And maybe this is why it create an array, and then array will let you use have multiple image ID. Maybe that's why. But since we've only have a file input of one file at one time, so we were using just upload one image, it still generate an idea. So there's still a loop, but doesn't really matter what it loop is. That is only there's nothing to loop. It just do it one time, right? So and same deal for the mask ID. So I'm going to select this bit and then go and find the mask ID. So again, another loop, right? But this is fine. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to save it because this is where we can test, right? Whether it works or not. Oh, it says something. What is it? The type, the trigger action name must be unique. Oh well, sometimes it's look. I mean, the great thing is that it always come if there's error, it always come up with an error message, and then you just try to read through the error message. Hopefully, it makes sense to you, right? It tells me that duplicate names HTTP image upload. You know what? I don't know. Why didn't I rename it properly, right? So this is let's just this call. I've already got something called HTTP image upload. Somehow I don't know why it's calling HTTP. What did I call it? Image upload. It should give it a better name, right? Why don't we call it Gen Fill? Right. So just in Power Automate, every actions needs to have a different name. So this is just the way it works, right? So and it's important that it is a different name. So let me just save it again. Hopefully that would be all right this time. Right, the flow is ready to go. Let's do a test. So I'm going to menu, test, and select the image and select the mask. run the flow. Done. So now it's going to run it step by step. Now this is where you want to see green tick, right? So and there's the spinning wheel, so it's going through this process there, looping one by one. We just give it, I think it takes about a minute or so, so let's just give it some time. Okay, all right, done. So 49 seconds, so less than a minute actually. And what you see is that is doing it. What I would like to do is to look at what has been output. So click the HTTP gem field, right? And this is what I want always look at is the output, right? So I want to look at the output and the status code 200. I like 200, right? And then the body. Now for the first image, so this is the first, right? So you see that the prompt is Mossy Rock. So there's the first prompt, right? The size 1K by 1K, the image, etc., etc. And you see the URL. You see the URL there, right? So this is where I want to just do a quick test, right? So what I'd like to do is just copy this URL and open a browser window. Paste it. There you go, right? So we've got the background image on top is superimposed on top is the product shot without the gray background, right? So that's wonderful. Now, if I go and click the second image, and then there will be the prompt this time will be what magical forest, right? Magical forest and sunshine. Again, then there's a new URL as well, right? So all looks good. All looks good, right? Now, what I want now is, of course, that it's good to have the output, right? But we remember that we need to send this output the image. We know there's every output now got the URL. So every output got this URL, presented URL, right? And we just need to use this URL and put that into OneDrive, right? Now to do this, a couple of things there. So first we need to pass this JSON. Again, this is JSON, right? So we need to pass this JSON. So I might just copy it, right? And then go back to the edit mode. And add an action, pass JSON, pass JSON. Let's just call this pass gem field JSON, right? So there is always a unique name, right? We want to make sure that it's always unique name. Get the content from the HP gem field, the body, the schema. We are going to just use what we've copied. So this is an example, right? And then we use that, and that will generate the URL. The URL that we can access later on, right? Now, what we're going to do now is to grab this URL and then put that into OneDrive, right? So to do this, I'm going to add this action. I think this one we did it last time, so so kind of like we just repeat the process there. So in OneDrive, so OneDrive, right? So there is this OneDrive for Business. There's something like upload file from URL. Right. Now the OneDrive. So again, in my case, here is my OneDrive directory. So I have my files. Inside my files, I've got a folder called demo. And this is where I want all the images to be put onto here, right? So into this demo folder. So the way I need is to find the URL. So you need to have the source URL. So the source URL is from the past JSON, genfield JSON, right? So go to past genfield JSON, and let's just go to expand more so that we can see everything. There would be this pre-signed URL. So this is the one that we want. Now select that. Now what you'll notice is that it again create yet another loop. The reason why it create yet another loop is that again the pre-signed URL, if you look into the JSON file, is actually stored inside an array. Even though there's only one image, so one URL there is still an array. So it generates this loop, but it doesn't really matter. It just loop it once. Literally just there's nothing to loop. It's just one, right? So that's it, right? Now we are going to put the file into this demo folder, and then you put it give it a file name. So you could call it any name you like. Maybe you call it image JPG or something like that, right? Now the problem with calling it JPG is that then there's a problem, because we have every files that have been created. So there will be 5 images that are created because there are 5 table cell, right? It can't be the same file name, right? So we need to come up with some sort of naming scheme, right? So we'll have to work on that, right? Anyway, before I come up with the naming scheme, let me just also look at other parameters as well. One is called override. Override, what it does is that if you generate an image and this image is put onto OneDrive, but OneDrive have the same file name there, so you tell it what to do, right? Should you just ignore it, or should it override it, right? Let me just say override, right? So override, right? But still, we need to come up with a naming convention, right? So because otherwise, it's not going to be good, right? What I've in mind is something like that. How about the first image? We call it image dash one. The second image will be image dash two. The third image will be image dash three, etc., etc. Right. So that would be at least one way to so that every image will have a new file name, right? That won't it won't overwrite each other, right? So we need to just change it a little bit. Image dash one, image dash two, image dash three, right? So obviously you can't just type 1, 2, 3 manually. You want it to be automatically generate the counter, right? So for here, I'm just going to do something super simple. I'm going to before we start this genfield call, I'm just going to add a new variable, because the easiest is I just initialize a variable, and I just call this maybe n, make it as an integer, start with 0. So before the process start, is going to create let's just give it a better name as well, initialize a variable called n, right? So what I want is that when we first start, right? Remember, it looped through 5 times, right? So the first one, the second one, the third one, etc., etc. Every time when it go through the loop, I want to increase the number by 1, the counter by 1. So I'm just going to go to add a new action, and fortunately there's this action call for variable called increment. So this is a great way. What it can do is that it would let you increase the variable by whatever amount that you want to increase, right? So in this case, just the variable that we want is the n. So because we've initialized this variable as a integer, so and we could increase by 1. It means that every time when it go through the loop, when it before it's 0, the first time it becomes 1, and then the second time becomes 2, because every time you go through the loop, you increase it by 1, right? Now that we've got this increase this variable, let's just call this increment and variable, right? So again, I just feel it's better to name it well. So now I go back to the upload file URL. So instead of image dash hardcode 1 or 2 or 3, now I could simply say image dash, go to dynamic value, grab the variable n. And so if all goes well, then we should see images that are upload to the OneDrive with file name that are incrementally increased, right? So image 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. So why don't we save it and test it? Right, so green bar, wonderful, test, hopefully just the one last time. And continue. Pick the image, pick the mask, and run the flow. Done. So we'll now just let it run, right? So last time that took about 49 seconds. This time might be a little bit longer because it would need to not just generate the URL, but also upload each of those to OneDrive as well. So might be slightly longer, but we'll see how it goes. Good. 59 seconds, right? Still just under 1 minute, right? And that we've now got it, right? So, and again, if I look at the result, right? So each of those should get, well, at least it shows me that there's an image 1 to JPG, right? So if I click the second one, and then what you should see is that then there's image 2, image 3, image 4, etc., etc. So all looks good. Let's go to our OneDrive, right? So let's jump to our OneDrive, and there you go, right? So we've now generated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 just a minute or a few seconds ago, right? So that's good, and we could look into any of these image. So might take a little bit while to come. Let's just go try again. So let's just right the image there. So let's just take a look, right? So might not have permission to view it. I don't know why. So all those images here, right? So and I could go and can I preview it? No. I can go and look at each of these image. I could go select. Hmm. So here we have, right, the images have been generated just a minute or a few seconds ago. So you see each of the image have an image name, that's one, that's two, that's three, that's four, that's five, etc., and the file size as well. And you should be able to even preview the image as well, right? So if I just select this and there's this preview right? So we should be able either preview the image or you can also download the image as well, right? So now when it comes to preview, just give it some time. Sometimes OneDrive might take a while. You might see that the image are not available yet. It might take a while for it to have the image available for preview. So let's just see whether it's available or not, right? So oh, here it is, right? So the image comes up. Sometimes, as I said before, give it a bit of time, or maybe click the refresh browser button. That might help, right? And depends on the size of the image as well, right? So, and you you could also navigate from one to another just like this. So 1 2 3 4 5, etc., etc. So I hope this gives you a sense about how we could use the GenFill API to generate images in the back for the background, right? So remember that this was what we set out to do and how we did it. Okay, thank you very much.